Alright, so I want to put the extra components that I need here. So mainly the railing, which you've all probably been wanting to do, and the kitchen. And and the bathroom components as well. So I'll do all of those loadable library parts. And so it's going to look much more complete once those things are in there. And so I'll start with the kitchen actually. And the reason I'm doing that first and not the railing is because the railing is done differently. And so I just want to make it a bit clearer, I suppose, that those two things are different kinds of families and you load them in differently. So to place the kitchen, I'm simply just going to go to Component. And you can see there it's telling me that there are no lighting fixtures loaded. That doesn't matter. I'm going to say no. I don't want to load them at the moment. And then you can see why it's asked me about lighting fixtures. It's because those were the last components that I placed. So I'm going to click Load Family to get something different. And now I'm using a slightly bigger library than you might have. But I'm going to just try and go to one that's similar to what you'll have. So if you go to the casework folder and then domestic kitchen, you may not have all of these cabinets, but you should at least have these grey ones. And now actually, if I just go back, let's see, here. No, I've got a bit more than you'll have. If you go to the Revit resources folder on the P drive, then you'll find all of these anyway. Now I can't show you that right now because I'm not on the network, and so I'm just trying to grab the floor plan while I'm talking. So I might just quickly pause that. Okay, so like I was saying, in the casework folder, in here, you may not have all these cabinets, but I'm just going to use the most basic ones, which are these grey ones. Now, you can see here some of them have benches. It's actually better to go for the ones without bench tops. So, just looking for those. Here we are. These are the open ones. And now, if you're lucky, you'll find some like these that have a drawer if you need them at the top. But I don't think that's important if you can't find them. But have a look on the P drive. So if you go to P drive, Revit Resources, and then More Revit Library, you should be able to find most of these. So you find the grey ones always, they're easy to find, but the white ones there, they're actually a bit better. You may have to search for those. So I'm going to use a mix of them. And so for now, I'll use a simple one here, just this base, and try to use the same colour. So if you start with the grey ones, stick with those. Oh, they're just made by different people. They all render with whatever material you want. But there's a bigger selection of the white ones, so I'm going to go for them. So I'm just going to go for this base one, and okay, so you can see now in the properties window, it's come up with base 9,000 mil. I'm just going to place that roughly against the wall for now. And then I'm going to go load family again, back to the same folder, and I'll get one with a drawer at the top. And then again, I'll place that, well, you can see here, it's come up narrower, and that's because over here it says it's got base 12, which is this new one, but there are two types there. There's a 600mm and a 1 meter version. So I'm just going to make sure it's the 1 meter, and I'll try and place it up against the first one. And I might just show you what that looks like in section now. So I've got a section view here already, so I'm going to double click on the arrowhead to open it up, and you can see here I've got two cabinets. Now, again, I'm just trying to guess what the actual layout would be. For the pantry, you could maybe just allow, looks like 1500. So on the Home tab, I'm going to go to Component and place a component. Oh, no, sorry. I'll just place another component. So place a component again. Load family and back to that library. Casework, domestic kitchen, and we'll see if we've got any pantry cupboards. Now, I'm sort of in two minds here whether it's worth trying to model these, but yeah, this one here, tall cabinet, that may be okay. Okay, so I'm just going to place this up against the wall. And you can see in the plan that they're deeper than the other cabinets. Now, I'm just going to use measure, and you can see it's at the moment 600mm deep, which is standard depth for a bench. And then the other tall cabinet there's also 600mm. On the plan, it looks like it comes out maybe 100mm. So for now, I'll just make that. Well, I'm going to allow for the bench to come out another 50mm as well. So I'm going to make that an extra 150. So with that cabinet selected now, I'm just going to go Edit Type, and then duplicate, and I'll make this 750mm, the name, and then the depth, I'm going to make 750, and the width as well, 750. So that's now bigger, and just going to move that across so that it lines up with the wall. And so I'll have a look in section view again. No? There's another teacher next door, or should be. Yeah, yeah.
The student reckons that the printer is producing this effect.
Because last Friday, Chris checked my file, and
Yeah.
he had a look at everywhere. And
Is it
said
InDesign?
my file is fine.
It's InDesign, it's not the printer.
It is, isn't it?
It's InDesign. Because look, it's not doing it here, it's not doing it up there, it's InDesign. I've seen it happen before. I'm not sure why it happens, but it's definitely InDesign.
So, yeah.
But it's from a PDF.
Yeah, but it's always InDesign. Yeah,
Actually, it doesn't
always
even
InDesign.
say
Yeah, but so how come then that didn't happen?
That's right, so it's not the printer. Because it'd be
that's a
doing.
printer. I tried to print from the S3
Yeah?
printer, and
And
then
it didn't
the
do
slide
it?
didn't appear.
Yeah, it's the way that it translates it for some
Yeah. So when
EPS.
you drop a JPEG or something into InDesign, it slices or something?
Yeah, it does it only occasionally, but I've only ever seen it with InDesign.
Yeah, so
So it's, I mean, if it was the printer, it'd be a hardware issue with the printer. But it's
So what
not.
I should do is put my PDF on in Illustrator,
Try, yeah,
but
try.
the PDF will be from InDesign, so will it make any difference?
Well, I don't know. Just try printing from Illustrator instead of printing it to like from a PDF. Try printing directly from Illustrator and see if that solves it.
yeah, try
It's
it.
anything I can think of. Yeah. Okay, so again, it's worth just checking in section how this cabinet looks, and so that's okay, except that the door handle is on the opposite side to what you might expect. How have you been shown chevrons? Which direction have you been shown chevrons? Show an I like this line here. So that line shows a the door opening direction, and that's called a chevron. So which way do you think that would?
Well, that point would be the hinge point.
Well, that's actually right according to the Australian standard, but it's not the way everyone does it. Most people do it the opposite way. It's one of those funny things. So generally, that's the handle. The point is the handle. Generally, it's funny if you look at the Australian standard and a lot of the international standards as well. That's the handle side. So the hinge opens from the point.
So the point is the hinge.
The point is the hinge, and it opens out to the other open end, where it's wider. Right? So the point is your hinge, according to the Australian standard. But most people just ignore that because, I suppose, intuitively, people often think the point is where the handle would be. Right? And that's what builders do. I've seen people do it the other way, the way the standard says, and with windows that are meant to open with a hinge at the bottom, they've gone, oh, well, they're hoppers. They're meant to open from the top, and they build all the windows upside down. So you've got to watch out for that and always check which way people are reading it. But yeah, here you can see this door has been done by someone who does it the normal way, and so that means that the handle's on this side, on the left-hand side, but this pantry, this tall cabinet, has been done by someone who does it the opposite way. So the handle here is on the right-hand side. So you've always got to be careful about that. And so I want to change this. I'm going to go Edit Family. And so to fix that, in the elevation here, I'm just going to mirror these chevron lines. So this is something you'll need to do with your own families if you want it to show the other way. So all you need to do with the lines picked, I've just used Control to select those two lines, and then using Mirror Pick Axis, I'm going to turn Copy off and then pick the axis. And now I can load that family back in. So firstly, I'm going to do a Save As, Family, and give it a new name. Reverse chevron. And now I can load that back into the library. So I'd load that back into the project. So we'll pick the right one, Beach House. Now, while I'm at it, I can actually put in a new one. So I've got the 750mm new size there. I can just pick that from the list, and then I'll place this one next to the old one. Back in my section view, okay, so there's my section. Now you can see there are two cabinets which have opposite facing arrows, because the first one is still set to the old family, so I'm going to choose the new family here, Tall Cabinet 7 Reverse Chevron, and now the arrows face the same way. Now we actually want these both to open the opposite way, but I can then select either of these, go to Mirror Pick Axis, make sure Copy's turned off, and then I can just pick the vertical center line in either of those. So here, same one, same thing, so I can just use Mirror Pick Axis, turn Copy off, pick that vertical edge. Now, there's maybe extra detail in these cabinets that you don't want, but we'll look at how you can take that out if you don't need it. Oh yeah, sure, I'll just finish recording this and then I'll come over. Yeah. Okay, so So I've got those pantry units there. I'm just going to assume that there's a fridge next to them because you'd need a fridge somewhere. So again, on the Home tab, Component, Load Family, and back to the same folder, Casework, Domestic Kitchen. There's a fridge that has at least a built-in option. So the refrigerator built-in I'll use, and okay, so it's I think 750 wide and only 600 deep. Now we can actually get it a bit deeper than that. I don't know if it has to be. Again, I don't really understand these drawings. Why in section it looks different to the way it's shown in plan. So maybe I'll just leave it 650 deep and place it up against those. We can always change that later. Okay, so I've got those units all there. Again, it's just worth keeping an eye on what's happening in section. And so you can see the fridge is coming okay, but it's higher than the other cabinets. So to measure that, using the measure tool, it's 2100 high. So it's probably a good idea to set those cabinets both to that new height. There we go, much neater. Okay, so back to the bench cabinets. Can move them in section with control. I can select them both, and then using the move tool, can bring that across. That looks okay, and then maybe I'll just do one more cabinet, and I'll assume that's where the what will be the stove. So I'll have the sink there, I suppose, and then the stove. Okay, so back in the ground floor plan. Okay, I'm just going to copy. So I've got that cabinet selected. I'm just going to use copy and bring that across. Okay, so in my section box view there, you can see we've got the cabinets and the fridge. But what about the bench? Okay, so the reason I don't like to bring the bench in with the cabinets is because it's actually more work. It's easier to model a bench afterwards once you've got the basic layout done with your cabinets. And so under component, you can then go to model in place, set casework as your category, give it a name like kitchen bench, and then using extrusion, in this case, I can just draw a rectangle in the shape of the kitchen bench that I want. Now, it's not snapping to give me a 650 depth, but that's okay. I can just use modifier to select that line and then change my dimension. So I'll make it exactly 650. Maybe so it lines up with the fridge. Actually, I'll make that 640. That's a bit neater. Tick to finish, but you can see that it's going over the cabinets, and that's because I haven't set the height yet. While it's selected, I can just go into properties, and I'm going to set the extrusion start to 870 and the extrusion end to 900, which means we've got a standard bench height, 900, and then the extrusion start, being at 870, leaves us with a 30mm thick bench top. Okay, so I'm going to click to one side, and you can see that's covered over the cabinets. So we know that's the right height. Here, the fridge looks a bit funny. That's just because of the way it was made. I might just finish this model and see, yeah, it still looks a bit strange. So I'm going to go in and put a gap. So I'm going to change it to wireframe. And then simply going to select these 3 cabinets, use move, and then bring the bench tops over, I think 20 mil should be enough. Sorry, bring the cabinets over 20 mil, and now I can select the bench top, and using edit in place, I can then select the extrusion, and then edit extrusion, and now select the line, move, click a base point, and then move them over 20 mil as well. So tick to finish the extrusion, tick to finish the model, and now back to hidden line. That's much neater. Okay, so you can see in section, the bench top sits right over the cabinets. Now, sorry, I might just check these cabinets. They might not have been 870. Ah, they're 860. Okay, that's not a problem. So I'm going to select that bench top now, edit in place. That means I can then select the extrusion and now change the extrusion start there to 860 instead. Finish model. And so that then gives me a bench that sits exactly on top of those cabinets. Now I don't know what's happening under the bench further down. You may have more cabinets there, I'm not sure. So if you do, it's no problem copying or adding new cabinets. So maybe I'll just copy one more across, something like that. Okay, so I'll get some other components in there. So back on the ground floor plan. Now I can use, again, component, load family, and then in the plumbing fixtures folder, sometimes we'll find sinks. I don't have any there, so I'll go to the other metric library folder. And again, if you browse onto the one on the P drive, you'll find a lot more in there. So plumbing fixtures here, and you can see we've got all sorts of sinks. So we've got a kitchen sink there I can use. That's probably good enough. So again, it's telling me there are no tags loaded for plumbing fixtures, and I'm going to click no, I don't want to load any. And so I'm just going to place this sink fairly roughly to begin with. And then back in my section now, let's see what that section is. Section 1. Okay, so in section there, you can see that the sinks come in, but it's too low. So you've always got to check these things in a side view. Place them in plan usually, and then check the height. And so we can't really see how high that sink is exactly because it's inside the cabinet. But if I go to wireframe now, I can use measure and measure from the base of the sink where it should reach the bench, down to the ground, so that's 850, so it needs to come up another 50 mil. So I'm going to select that sink now, and then in properties I can just put an offset in 50, and now you can see, well, the top of it's now touching, but I want the bottom of this to touch. So I'm just going to measure there. It's going to go another 5 mil. So now in properties again, let's change this to 55. And there we are, that's perfect. You can always double check if you go to thin lines, and you can see there that's exactly on top of the bench. Now, looking at the layout now, probably wouldn't make sense to have it like this. I don't know how it's been done in reality. But since I've got an extra cabinet, maybe I'll change this so that I've got the drawers on the next one. So here, that was, this one is base 9. And this one I've selected is base 12. So I'm going to change the next one from base 9 to base 12. Also 1000 mil, and you can see now I've got drawers there. Now I can change this one back to base 9. Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe I can move the sink across. I'm just going to select it and use the arrow keys to nudge that across. There we go, that looks okay. So you essentially have a fake drawer there. Don't want to have it lining up with the edge. Yeah, so that way you can still use the doors below. And then, so here, this one could again become base 9. So not base 11, base... Actually, long drawer. So that's base 11. No, I'm going to go for base 9 again, just to keep it simple. And then this one can be base 11. So was this base 12, was it? Yeah, so that's fine. Base 11 is another one I've loaded, which is 900 mil only. So to get that to be the same size, I've just got to go and make a new 1 meter. There we go. So it can seem complicated doing all of this, but it's actually much less work than if you've got to draw it all manually yourself. And in the past, there were people employed just to do shop drawings. And these days, they don't really get any work. People can only do those things because a lot of this stuff is done automatically by the people doing the design drawings. So, you know, a bit more learning involved, but once you do have these skills, then you can easily produce a lot more drawings. Now I'm just going to check that my cabinets are all still lined up. You can see when I change the type, they all moved across slightly. So I'm just going to line them up again using a line. So I'll pick the edge of my bench and then go to the edge of my cabinet. Sometimes you might have to use tab to get the right edge. And it's not giving me the cabinet edge, so I'll just nudge that across a little bit first so it's clearer, and then use a line again. There we go. So now I can just go along and pick each cabinet edge. Now here, it's again hard to tell which is which, so I'm going to nudge this one away. There we go, and you can see there's a gap between them now, so I can use a line. And then coming across to the next one, that actually looks alright. Yeah, I think that is okay. So now I want a stovetop, and so back to component, load family. These you should be able to find in specialty equipment, and then Where are they again? Appliances. Here we go, domestic. We'll have them as well. So here we go, domestic cooktop. Maybe I'll go for the gas one this time. They should have gas here, you'd think, so I'll try that. But really, any of these will do. It's just a symbol. No, that's only a 2D. So I'll just say yes to reload a different one. So I'm going to go here and try to get another one. No, let's try again here. So specialty equipment, and then domestic, and I'll go for a different cooktop. So I'll just go for this. Oh no, I'll try this one, this gas hob. I'll try that. There we go. Okay. So now, again, I'm going to place it in plan, and you can see that it's not visible. I'm going to go to wireframe, and you can see it is there, but again, the height is probably an issue. So looking at it in section, you can see this one's actually ended up sitting on the ground. So we know the bench height is 900. So if I go to the offset in properties there, I'm going to put 900 in, and that should lift it up 900 mil from the ground. So it's sitting on top of the bench now, and I can use the arrow keys to nudge that across. So something like that. Now the oven, again, it's just not shown very clearly in the drawings there. It may be an upright mounted oven in one of these cabinets over here, or it may be under bench. I doubt it's built in with the cooktop though. In fact, I guarantee that it's not. So I'll just leave the cooktop separate, worry about the oven later. And then okay, so there we are. So that looks fairly well centered there, and again in section you can see that there's a drawer where the cooktop is. So again, that will be a false drawer, so that you can again use the cupboards underneath. So back to the section, you may want to change one of these so that it's got a drawer that you can actually use, and also you could think about the sink design. But if you're just modelling the existing, then I wouldn't worry too much about that. So now back in plan, if you go to component one last time, now with load family, I'll get the casework for the upper level cupboards, and so here we go, upper cabinet. Actually, I'll go for wall unit 2 here. So you just need to look through the library and see what's most appropriate, and you know, you will need to use your own judgment here. And you know, if you use the program regularly, these things are fairly easy to work out. But if you don't, then it can all seem a bit strange. Okay, so I'm going to just click to place this roughly in plan, and now I'll have a look at it in section again. So you can see there the wall cabinet has come in, but the height and the size is not right. So the cabinets below are 1 metre. Now cabinets this big, yeah, okay, it's a bit strange. They are full height, and they're also quite wide, so they're quite big cabinets. So let's see, it's probably about at least 1600, the base, off the floor there. So at the moment it's only 1400. So I'm just going to go into the properties for the cabinet, edit type, and the width there. So I'll start with, well, we've got a 1000mm cabinet, so that's okay. I can just click apply, and we've got, there we go, we've got a wider cabinet at least, but it needs to be brought up, and it also needs to have an increased height. So if you want the base at 1600, and then the floor to ceiling height is 2550, then that leaves 950. Is that right? Yep, 950. Okay, so back to edit type, and so the top of cabinet 2550. The height is 950. Okay, and there we are. So you can see that's now in line with the ceiling, and it's worth checking that it's exactly in line with these cabinets down below. So I'm going to use a line here, pick the edge of my casework, and then the edge of the cabinet above. So that lines up exactly. Looks a bit strange to me, but maybe that's the way it was built. So finally now I can select that cabinet, and then just with copy, I'm going to tick multiple and copy this across. And so we've got a bit of a funny leftover space here. Now, yeah, you'll need to check the dimensions of these, but probably an easy way to fix it would be to get rid of the last one, because I just really don't know that the drawings you've been given show everything that's required anyway. It's a very big area for a kitchen, but the kitchen part is really cramped and not really properly planned out. And I guarantee you, when the people who built this would have seen it in reality, they would have, the person who would have been doing the cooking would have said, you know, you've got to, yeah, oh, that's right, that's not enough. Look, there's a lot of things like that, especially a lot of architects don't cook. And whether they're male or female, they're working very hard, and some of them just have no idea about designing kitchens. But if you're interested in cooking, or just interested in design, but you shouldn't know how to design a kitchen, but definitely if you actually use a kitchen, it makes you realise that there are certain things you need and certain space you need. You know, minimum is stove, sink, fridge, storage for food and other things. You've got to have those things, and they're not shown here. That's an absolute minimum. And like you're saying, a metre between benches, you can actually get away with that, but it's not good. You should have a bit more than that, because, you know, ovens and things often need to open into that space, as well as the doors from. So yeah, lots of things you've got to think about. It's all common sense if you've actually used the kitchen, but surprised how many people don't, or just think it, you know, is somewhere to store the food that you buy from the you know, takeaway or whatever. But yeah, it's amazing. It always amazes me how little thought goes into it. But then every time I've designed, you know, hundreds of kitchens, and it's amazing how when it actually goes to get you know, built, the person who, it's usually the wife, but not always. In fact, these days it's almost 50-50, but in the old days it was. They'll just go, no, you've got to do it properly and do these certain things, and what's shown on the drawing often is very far from what is actually built. So. So anyhow, I'll just move these across to get a bit more room, and so that way an extra cabinet can fit in down here. And so maybe to just finish this off, I'll bring that fridge and, yeah, bring that fridge across. So 700, that's okay. Perfect, actually, because then I can, sorry, 750, I didn't think. Yeah, 750 is what I made these, so I'll bring that across another 50mm, and yeah, worked out really well. So now I can copy this across, 750. that'll fit perfectly. And so there are still some cabinets that need to be added above those other built-ins, but otherwise the bench here can just be stretched across to line up with the casework underneath, and here again it might help to put thin lines on. And so there we are, fairly complete kitchen. And so back in the section box view, you can see there it is. One last thing, the sink there is just going across the, doesn't have a hole cut out for the basin. Okay, so that bench top just goes straight across there. It's quite simple to cut it out. You can just again select the family, edit in place, select the solid, edit extrusion, and you're back to the sketch that was used to make the bench top. And so now, to cut out a hole for it, it doesn't need to be the shape of the basins. It's worth thinking about how this would actually be built in reality. And the way it would be built is just to cut out a hole that is bigger than those sinkholes, or not sinkholes, but bigger than the cutout for the basin. The sinkhole is the plug hole usually, but there we are. So a rectangle like that, it may even be smaller. It would often be only up to the drainage area, but it doesn't matter if you make it bigger than it needs to be. It's only if you make it smaller than it needs to be is a problem. So now that I've finished that solid, I can finish the model or the family, and then back in the section box view, you can see that I've now got a hole for the sink. Okay, so there we are. But there still needs to be some cabinets added above the pantry cupboards there. Otherwise, though, that's at least got all the main components that you should have. And kitchen design's not hard, but it really does help if you get in and actually do all the different things that people need to do in the kitchen, and then it's second nature. So I'll save that one there. Yeah. Okay.